I'm going to demonstrate how to use a custom pattern in a fill layer. First, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a fill layer. So if you have a document, and here I've got a document that I've already started, and I've created a little smart object here just as an example of something so we can show that it's in front of or in back of the layer. To create a fill layer, I'm going to go under the layer menu and I'm going to find new fill layer, and you're going to see that there are three options there: solid color, gradient, and pattern. And you can choose any of these to create a layer that has either a solid color, a gradient, or a pattern in your document. We're going to focus on pattern today. If I choose pattern, it's going to give me the option to name the layer. I'm just going to take the default name for now, and I'm going to say OK. So it chose and then I'm going to say OK here for the pattern fill for now. And you can see that it chose a pattern for me that's already preloaded into Photoshop. But the problem is I lost my smart object, and that's because the layer that the smart object is in is now underneath this fill layer. So I just want to drag my fill layer down or drag my other layers up so that the objects that I want to see, this smart object, is in front of that fill layer. Okay. Now, how do I customize this? This is a nice pattern, but what if I want my own pattern? Or if I just want to find a pattern? I'm going to show you how to find and use a pattern from an online source. The first thing that I'm going to do is find the pattern that I want to use. So I'm going to go to a site called Brusheezy, which we often use for brushes, but we're going to use it today for patterns. So I'm going to think of a pattern that I might like. So let's say we want some kind of fabric pattern. So I'm going to search for fabric, and then I'm going to go over here under file type, and I only want to see patterns. I don't want brushes. I don't want textures. I want patterns, specifically patterns. All right, so I'm going to look and maybe I want a plaid pattern. Let's click on the plaid patterns here and see what we've got. These look like plaid patterns that we could try. Let's go ahead and download them. It's important that they are patterns and not textures. Okay, so now if we go to the downloads folder, we'll see that I have a zip archive called 6plaids rainy.zip. In order to use this zip archive, I have to extract all the files from it first. So I'm going to right click on the archive. I'm going to ignore this warning, and then I'm going to say extract all to extract all the files that were in that folder, in that zip archive, into their own folder. So it's going to create a folder here called 6plaids_rainy. That's fine with me. I'm going to extract that, and it automatically opens the folder. And see, it's a .pat file. That tells me that I did the right thing. Okay, but I want this .pat file to now be part of my Photoshop. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop. I'm going to double click on the pattern that you can see that is linked to the pattern fill layer. So I'm going to double click on that, and I get my pattern fill dialog where I can change the pattern. Okay, you can also do things like change the direction of the pattern. So you could play with these controls, I'm sure, figure out what they do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the menu here using this little down arrow. And then I'm going to open the settings by clicking on this gear. And I will choose import patterns. And if I navigate to my downloads folder and then to this 6plaids rainy folder, I should see 6plaidsrainy.pat. And I'm going to click on that and load that into Photoshop. And now if I scroll down here, I see that I have another folder here. And if I open the folder, I've got some plaids. And if I click on them, it will load these plaids into Photoshop. Right? And now these are part of my Photoshop installation. If I like this pattern, but I don't like the scale, I can change the scale. I can make it bigger. So I can do that, zoom in, I could zoom out, make it small. And of course, as before, I could also change the direction. Okay.